All right. Perfect. Well, welcome everybody back to the WorkAway Offices Podcast. My name is John Hindo, your host. Today we have two very special guests. We have a father and son real estate team. We have the amazing and very dynamic duo of Billy and John Donovan from John Donovan Properties. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us, John.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Billy, you and I have come pretty close over the past, I'd say 6 months since I started working with the OBC, as we're on the committee together. And, seeing the you two work together, I just thought it'd be really interesting to have the both of you on and, get to know about kind of some of the dynamics between, working with family members, because Marnie Donovan also works with you guys. John's wife and Billy's mother also works with them. So it's, I've never worked with my family, so I'm really interested to learn, how dynamics go. So, for people meeting you for the first time, how would you describe, working in an office with, your parents and, with your wife and your son?
I would describe it as interesting, to say the least. It's with me. I grew up in the family business, so even before I started actually working with them and doing tasks, I was very familiar with how the real estate industry is, especially from agents that are working for themselves. I have stories for days about growing up in the business and, witnessing my dad and my mom build it and then, eventually bring on our business partner, Danielle. But yeah, I would describe it as interesting for sure, but it's definitely worthwhile. We have the four of us, including our business partner, Danielle, we have a lot of chemistry and we trust each other and we have great communication. I feel like that's an advantage that we have against other teams, is that we have the ability to be completely comfortable with each other, completely vulnerable. And it really comes in handy, I think, Dad, when there's tough situations where, honesty is the best medicine, and it's just that much easier because of the chemistry we have.
Yeah.
It's important too to have great synergy. It's like having a hockey team. We're a line on a team, and there's myself and Marnie and Danielle, and then Billy over the last number of years has been a great support system, and now has stepped into the role of customer service as well. So having great synergy amongst the four of us has been critical, and I think the other key aspect of it is. Everybody has their responsibilities. Everybody takes care of their responsibilities, and then has room to support each other. And so that's been a key part of it. And then, of course, we like to have fun.
Yeah, which I think is important too, because in family dynamics, when you're working together, and it can be challenging, right? Because you have to make business decisions, but then you're also a family at the same time. So you're trying not to hurt anyone's feelings. You're not trying to step on toes, but then. At the end of the day, you have to make business decisions too, which you have to step on some toes, and some people may end up unhappy with some decisions. So the fact that you guys are, we have fun and we work together, it really, really sounds good. I know I've started working with my dad a little bit in our family office, just on some of our investments in the portfolio and kind of managing things from there. And I know that it's not always easy conversations, and sometimes it can be tricky to shut it off sometimes when you're going home.
That's the hard part. That's knowing when to shut it off. If one of us are, we've closed our office doors for the day and the other person needs to talk, well, you got to reopen the office sometimes, or you got to keep the office door closed. Understanding the boundaries of the other people is really key. But when you have a team, it allows for, if I'm out of town or if I'm not available, like right now, if somebody were to contact me right now, Danielle or Marnie are already on board to step into that situation. And but that's what I like about having a team. I would never do this business solo ever again. After doing this for 20 years with a team, I like being on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for in terms, you mentioned difficult conversations, in my opinion, in our dynamic, compared to the other jobs I've had previously. I find that the difficult conversations are easier because with our dynamic, it's very clear we all trust each other.
There's a lot of respect.
There's a lot of respect, and I know that they care about me as a person, which you can absolutely get that in a non-family
I'd hope
dynamic.
So, they're your parents.
Yeah, but it's kind of a given in our situation. But the difficult part, like my dad said, is shutting it off and, like waking up at 6 a.m. to go get your coffee, and it's like immediately there's a team meeting going on. It's because there's business to be done. And so, and sometimes that's a great thing because it gets a lot of the things out of the way before 8:30 in the morning. But sometimes the three of us kind of want to wake up like normal people.
Just watch YouTube.
So, but yeah.
That's awesome. And, Billy, I know you worked previously with the Toronto Marlies in an account management role when you were living in Toronto. When did the idea sort of come up for you to move back to Ottawa and to join, the team with your parents?
Yeah. So when I went to school in Toronto, and in my last 2 semesters, my second last semester, I did a co-op with MLSE, with the Leafs and the Marlies and the Raptors, TFC, all those teams. And I just basically worked under their sales department in ticket sales, and I helped aid them in ticket sales ventures, and I also helped them like on game day with game operations, assisting on that front as well. And at that same time, they needed support with admin tasks, and so my dad started to slowly bring me on and introduce me into the inner workings of the business. And I think my first tasks were really like the digital footprint, like social media. I established like a Google business profile. Started managing their CRM. Started doing email newsletters, like little tasks like that. And then through my co-op, I was hoping to get a job. And prospects were looking really good, but COVID hit, and all of the sports and entertainment industry got flipped upside down, and MLSE went on a hiring freeze, and that opportunity kind of went away. And I was sitting there, Bella and I were getting our first apartment together, and I had a decision to make. It's either to come back to Ottawa or to find a job in Toronto immediately. And I ended up staying in Toronto. And worked in manufacturing in the paper and packaging industry. But at the same time, I continued my tasks with them. And then in June of 2023, we were kind of in a position where they wanted somebody to come on full time and to give them 100% focus. And I was there and available to do so. So I came on, and within like 18 months, I was licensed. And once I was licensed, that's when my sales career started.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of the little brief history of how I got started with the family business. But, it's funny though. I feel like growing up in the business and seeing them build it from scratch has given me a perspective that has definitely given me an advantage, because I feel like a lot of people our age got into real estate. Their first introduction into real estate was like those Netflix shows. Of like selling Sunset, and it's like, oh my God, like all real estate is like looking pretty and driving a nice car and getting, $5 million in commissions because, and you look super cool and you have this big Instagram following. But I remember when my dad, 3 years into the business, when the 2008 housing crash hit, and I remember him not having a paycheck for 6 months. And, the stress that happened in our household, being, 9, 10 years old. My brother was like 18, 19. And he finally did a deal. It was on the last day of a listing contract for a big house in Manotick. And the clients told him it's not getting renewed. So, once you have until this date to sell the house, after that, you're out of luck. And, I believe an agent came in and showing on the last day, put in an offer, and we sold the house conditionally. And my mom, myself, and our dog waited in our foyer for my dad to come into the house, and he came into the house, and we all huddled around like a national soccer team jumping for joy. And I have, obviously as he built the business, the, worrying about getting a paycheck, that stopped. But all the other inner workings of the real estate industry, I witnessed firsthand, being in the car, driving to hockey, hearing my dad talk to clients, talk to other agents. And so coming into the real estate industry, like, I saw all the bad first, where I think a lot of other people are seeing this fake facade and finding out quickly when they get into the business what it's all about.
That you actually have to work.
Yeah. And it's tough and it's stressful and it's not easy being self-employed.
Well, 100%. And I think, I don't know the exact number on this, but someone was sharing it with me. I believe the statistic was that there's like something like 3,000 realtors in Ottawa.
Over 4,000 people have their real estate license.
The real estate license. And how many homes were sold last year in 2025?
Just under 14,000.
Just under 14,000. So
you
that's
got 28,000 ends divided amongst over 4,000.
Yeah, which is not. It's a hard industry, right? Like you really gotta show your worth. And I think you and I were chatting about this recently, Billy, where you're seeing a lot of people that joined because they thought it was an easy. They're starting to drop like flies.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's almost like sometimes too, it seems like there's more and more joining actually. Like,
yeah, there are people that are fading out now. There were a lot of agents that got in during COVID and took advantage of that bull run we had. And now they're seeing how challenging it can be in a slower market. So, and that's normal cycles. When I started in the business in 2004, we'd come off a fairly significant slow period in real estate, and we were just building that momentum up when I started. And at that time, I think there were 1,400 realtors in 2004, and now we're over 4,000.
Wow.
So, but the market has changed. There's a lot more people living in Ottawa today than there were back then. And people are turning over homes a lot faster. I mean, we're still living in the house we bought in 1998.
Yeah.
Most people are in their home. It used to be 5 to 7 years. Their first home, now it's 3 to 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. We're doing a lot of business this year with people that purchased in 2022, 2023.
Wow.
So you're less than 3 years into your home, and you want to sell it already.
Yeah, do you think that has anything to do with COVID interest rates and people coming up to renegotiate their mortgages?
There might be a little bit of that, but when mortgages come up for renewal, regardless of the interest rate when you first signed, it's always an opportune time to maybe make a transition. So if you're on a 5-year term and you're in year 3, you're less likely to make that transition. But if you're in the last year of your 5-year term, that's quite often a time when people start thinking about making a move.
Interesting. And are these people that you've worked with previously, or is this like new business that you're working with, like this new 3 years?
About 80% of our business comes from repeat and referral.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think that just speaks to the great work you guys do. If 80%,
yeah,
I think it's actually even a little bit more than that.
Yeah. That must feel like a good number just to say.
It is, because it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Like I think that when you focus on providing exceptional service, when you focus on giving people the best advice that they can receive and focusing on their best interests, you can count on people coming back, or you can count on people passing your name along. And sometimes sticking to that commitment, I understand how it can be difficult for other agents, because it's easy to look in the short term and think about the bills that you have to pay now.
Yeah. And
that swaying the way that you communicate with clients. But if you commit to that other side of just not focusing on yourself and just being 100% committed and prioritizing your client's best interests, in the long run, you will do more business.
100%. And that is a perfect segue to my next question, which is, what do you think your clients get from a family team that they may not get elsewhere?
That's a really good question.
I don't think we've ever been asked that.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I don't know if there's a difference between like a family team versus a non-family team. I think that there's a difference between just teams that have good chemistry and prioritize giving exceptional service versus, teams and brokerages that unfortunately don't. And I think that, we pride ourselves on prioritizing that stuff. And so that's the real difference, is that you're getting people who care and prioritize your best interests and meet you where you need to be met. And I don't think that that's a distinction between a family team and a non-family team.
No, I think if you, as a team, if you are a well-organized team and providing really good service, that's really what people want. If you add the element of being a family, people just like it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not better or worse. It's just when you do it, and if you do it well, people just like it. They like to deal with mom and pop operations, and that's what we are. We're not the number one realtors in Ottawa, and if that's what you're looking for, well, we're probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
But we're a good, solid team that have been doing this for over 20 years. And as a family unit, people like to see Billy and I together. They like to see Billy with his mom, and
I'm sure you and your wife too, right?
Absolutely. We always say between the two of us, we're the perfect realtors. But the fact that we've done this for so long as a family, and then we have Danielle Laflamme, who's been with us for 17 years, and she's fit nicely into that unit. I think that just adds credibility to what we're doing, and
Like, I feel like, referencing earlier, talking about the chemistry that we have, I think that that's the real difference, is that like our clients that come into our sphere feel like they're getting 4 agents, not just one. And it's very clear how, the open communication that we have and the chemistry that we have and the support that we give each other.
Yeah.
So that's the real difference. Whether that's because of a family dynamic or not, I think that's open to, speculation. But I think maybe in our case, because we're a family, we're able to maintain that chemistry and that level of service.
Yeah. And so what do you think is the biggest advantage to being a father-son team or a father-son-mom team in an industry that's built 100% on trust? Because you have to trust your realtors, right?
Yes, that's a really good one.
Yeah. Well, I think, like I said, there's no real advantage. It's just making people feel comfortable. And there are a lot of people out there that like dealing with, family operations. They like dealing with the owner. If I bring in a new client into the office, that client works with me with the support of everybody else. One of the challenges we hear with the public is, well, I thought I was getting this person as my realtor, and he just handed my file to someone else, and I never saw that person again. That doesn't happen with us. Even though we are a unit working together, if I'm working with you, John, I'm working with you. And you may see Billy, you may see Marnie, or you may see Danielle throughout the course of the transaction, but you're working with me. I'm not just handing your file to Billy, and Billy now is going to run with it.
Yeah.
Some clients were working more in tandem together, but the key thing there, really, when you're talking about the family business, is it's just there's a lot of people that do appreciate family businesses, and they want to support a family business that are working hard.
100%. And that's something that we pride ourselves here too at WorkAway is, so our CEO, Vince, and his daughter, Stephanie, they're a father-daughter team.
Yeah.
And they run the show here. And I know that it's a huge, huge thing for people when they're coming in, they're doing a tour, and then we drop the whole tidbit of, it's a father-daughter team that run this. And they go, oh my God, that's just amazing. I think that it really speaks to the character of the business too, because
I agree.
Blood trusts blood, right? Like it's the fact that family can work together, I think speaks mountains for clients, whether it's in real estate or whether it's in co-working or whatever business, because it just shows, like, if you can work with your family, because not everyone can work with their family. I certainly know that, there's people in my family that we have some differing opinions, and it would be not impossible, but it would be difficult to work together in some aspects. So I think that it just shows the character of the people you're working with, which is super, super important when, you're trusting someone to help you buy the largest asset you're probably going to buy in your lifetime, right?
But like you referenced, like the family dynamics in a stressful bit, like a family business dynamics within a stressful industry. In our case, I think that, our dynamic has really helped in that sense, because in really stressful times, we're all okay being 100% vulnerable. We never think about, when my mom or myself or Danielle are going to ask my dad a question, we never think about whether it's a stupid question or not. We never and that vulnerability is really important in those stressful times, because it's imperative that you don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's just when you're worried about how you're perceived or your lack of knowledge or expertise or not knowing something, it's a lot easier when you have somebody that you trust 100% to come to for support. And
we bounce things off each other all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. We're bouncing things off each other.
So to answer your question about stress, I think in our case, like our family dynamic helps support the fact that, this is a very stressful industry.
And has there been moments where being a family has made moments harder working together? Like has there been where the dynamic, because you're a family, it's made, certain things harder to deal with?
The only thing, I think the only challenge from the family perspective has been for us is just knowing when to close the office for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
That's really, and because our clients are reaching out to us all the time, 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 at night. And so the only real challenge has been is knowing when to
shut it off.
Close the office door and say, I'm done for the day. And you do that, and then all of a sudden the phone rings because somebody, but I think that from a family perspective, working in this business, that's really the only, everything else has been a positive. I wouldn't have changed anything for the world. But the biggest challenge is knowing when to close the office door for the day, and
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree with that. Like, my dad's birthday was back in February, and we're working on a real estate project on the side with another group of people where we're looking to buy mixed-use apartment buildings, like with residential on top and then commercial or retail on the bottom. And I remember I went and looked at a building, and I was kind of late for his dinner, and my sister had spent all day making this like homemade Indian food, curries, everything. And I get there, and the first thing my dad says is, "So how was the building?" And then we go right into it. And then my sister was like, "It's Dad's birthday. Don't be bugging him with all this business stuff." I'm like, he asked me, But I was like, I respect that. We're with family. Like, let's shut it off.
But it's a fun topic.
Yeah,
it is.
I was just about to say.
Like, it's not just that you're talking about, the intricacies of a negotiation. I mean, sometimes you are, but everybody loves to talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun, exciting thing to talk about, and there's never an endless source of content to discuss.
100%. Well, it's the one thing. There's the one thing everyone needs is somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Somewhere to live, cook their food. Right. So it's the one thing that everyone can relate to.
Absolutely.
I feel like as well, because everyone's either had an apartment or had a house or.
Everybody has an experience that they want to share.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I can only imagine as a realtor the stories you've heard from people.
Yeah, and just with how the housing market has dominated the headlines for the past 6-7 years, it's it's not even so much like us, the communication within us and us shutting it down. It's like when we go to a family event, it's like it's all people want to talk about. And I'm happy to talk. We're always happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like we're always happy to showcase our expertise in front of whoever wants to hear it. But it's like, man, like, I just kind of want to eat this piece of cheesecake.
Sometimes there are times we become secret agents.
So it's
not very often, but sometimes we do become secret agents.
And if friends and family are listening to this, ask all the questions you want. Ask all the questions you want. But it's that's more what I think about.
So that's awesome. That's really awesome. What's one lesson that let's start with you, John. What's one lesson that maybe Billy's taught you since you guys started working together?
Well, something that I've mentioned previously in talking with people is that Billy brings a younger dynamic to the business, and after so many years of doing this, it was nice to have Billy come on board and bring a young, enthusiastic energy to the team. And I was doing social media a little bit, but once Billy got involved, we knew that we needed an upgrade here.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun. I love learning new things, and Billy's brought a lot of great ideas to the table that are things that either I never thought about or things that I thought about but just didn't have the time to implement. So, the real difference for me having Billy with us is just that youthful energy that comes with new agents and a younger generation who have knowledge of things that maybe I'm not as aware of, and I'm always open to learning. But it's been fun watching Billy progress over the last number of years, and just meeting you and the whole OBC crowd. I mean, I sit back and I watch that, and I just think it's amazing.
Well, thank you. I know we appreciate your support.
Yeah,
so.
no,
Absolutely.
You guys are doing great stuff there, and it's been fun watching this and getting to know all of you guys.
Yeah.
None of that would have happened if Billy didn't come on board.
Yeah. Stayed in Toronto and was working in that packing plant.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Jeez.
So Billy, what's one lesson that your dad's taught you since you guys started working together?
How to stay calm. And really, there's been a couple instances where it's been astonishing how calm he's been able to keep it. Now, he's not perfect. He's just like everybody else. He's emotional just like everybody
sure.
else. But there's been instances where where an emergency has happened and he's been able to keep his cool and guide us through that, and that's been really inspiring. And I've found that I've been able to harness that in situations that I've been in later on. And that's something I really appreciate.
Thanks.
It's like it's for instance, I remember we were on our way to Nashville for a real estate conference, Buffini, and a situation happened that ended up being completely okay, but absolutely was a 911
At the time.
and it was a very stressful 24 to 36 hours. You wouldn't have been able to tell at all. And it was a really good learning experience. It didn't ruin our trip at all. It didn't actually affect our trip at all. It was just another day at the office, just trying to put out a regular fire. And I think about that situation a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. I mean, it sounds like it's definitely, I can see the trauma in your eyes from those 36 hours.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. But nonetheless, everything turned out more than okay.
Yeah. And so with the, thank you for sharing that, because that's awesome. Because I know my dad's definitely shown me a lot about being calm and staying cool in situations like that.
We're not born like this.
Yeah, you gotta learn it for sure. But being from different generations, does that shape the way that you guys approach clients, negotiations, and the marketing aspects of the business, or is there a difference, or do you guys kind of play things the same?
That's a good question. I think that ultimately, beyond our generational differences, I think that what's stronger is our similarities with our personality. So I think naturally we kind of view things the same way. And I think that's something that really speaks to the chemistry that we have as a family business, is that, we naturally just view the world the same way. And so I don't think that there's very many differences. However, do you notice any differences, even aside from me, just the way that, the old guard of realtors do things compared to the new guard?
I don't think there's a real difference. It's just, there's two things. Number one is because we're all on the same page, and when I say all of us, it's the four of us, including Marnie, Danielle, Billy, and myself. And when one of them goes to talk to a client, they ask a client a question, and the client says, well, that's exactly what John said. Or a client will ask me a question, they'll say, well, that's exactly what Danielle says. I'm really proud of the fact that it indicates that we're all on the same page, moving together. But then the main thing as far as changing dynamics go, is, Billy, for example. So if we have a younger client who's maybe in their late 20s or early 30s, Billy can maybe relate to that client a little bit more because they're the same age. They like having myself involved because they know I bring that level of experience. But there's a connection that they can make that maybe I wouldn't make with a 27-year-old buying their first condo. So I would still service them. They would get great service, but there's a rapport that you guys can have between each other because you're of the same age. Danielle being Francophone, there's clients we have that we want to work with us, but they want, Francophone service. And so Danielle's able to bring that to the table. The client is fully aware of the support that Danielle receives from the rest of us. So the main thing is just as far as the differences is just, being able to connect with people that you are have a better rapport with, but at the same time, everybody's aware of the support on the back end. So, I love working with seniors. Absolutely love working with seniors. But they know they love having Billy there, like we just did one recently. And Billy was quite involved in that transaction. And maybe Billy wouldn't have been suited to lead that client, but they sure loved having his support around to go and connect with them.
Yes, absolutely. But in talking about like the differences between agents from my dad's generation versus agents from my generation, I mean, I find that older agents are very blunt. Extremely blunt. There's just getting right to the point.
You know where you stand.
You know where you stand. If they want to know something, they're going to just come right out and ask you. Whereas I find agents around our age kind of tippy-toe around things. And it's sometimes that because of the tippy-toeing, there isn't really open communication. It's harder to read younger agents sometimes. But older agents that like a lot of older agents, like I think of somebody that comes to mind, like Rob Marland in my office, like he's just so to the point. And I don't know any other agent my age that behaves like him. And I see a lot of those similar traits in my dad as well. And I find that too, younger buyers are overwhelmed by looking at a house that needs work. They want to walk into a house and they want to feel like it's turnkey. I don't know if maybe our generation, our attention spans have dwindled so much because of our lifestyles. But I find that, older crops of buyers can more easily go into a house and envision like, okay, how would this look if I redid this? Where younger buyers have a lot struggle with that a little bit more. So I think when older agents are going out with younger buyers, sometimes they think like, oh, well, you're going to have to do all this work, but look at the value here. Where maybe from my perspective, I can understand where that buyer's coming from because because we're similar in age, I can kind of understand their mind frame. And then on the flip side, it's kind of hard for me to put myself in the shoes of older buyers that have older needs, or older sellers for that matter.
That's where, Billy made the comment earlier of, meeting people where they need to be met. And everybody's one of the things that I absolutely, truly love about my job, love about this business is every situation is unique. Every client is unique. Every seller is unique. Every house is unique. And so every day you wake up and you have no idea what's ahead of you. And that's amazing. It's just so much fun. But at the same time, you have to be prepared. You have to have some patience sometimes, and you have to be prepared to pivot at 1:00 in the afternoon because a phone call's come in that's now taking your day in a completely different direction.
100%.
But yeah.
100%. And do you see the market differently because of the difference in age between the two of you?
That's an interesting question. I think that it's harder for me to envision what long-term growth actually looks like because I haven't
You don't have the
experienced
experience,
it.
exactly.
You know, they have experienced it themselves. They've watched their own assets grow over a long period of time. And so especially over the last 5-6 years where things have been really turbulent, I think it's more difficult for people around our age to, look at the past 5 years and still see the future the same way that they see the future.
That's a good point. Because, we went through the financial crisis in 08, 09.
Yeah.
So we saw how we came out of that. And we're certainly not in that category right now. But we are in a position where buyers, it's not a buyer's market, but buyers are in control. And there's some great opportunities out there for buyers. But sometimes it's hard for them to envision 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And so I think it brings having a level of experience where you've been through a number of different balanced markets, buyers markets, and sellers markets just helps bring that perspective to the table.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that the environment today brings challenges that weren't there, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. Of course, we live in a modern world, a modern society and economy that brings new challenges. But nonetheless, it's understanding, the long-term horizon of residential real estate. It definitely keeps you at peace a little bit and can help envision what, a purchase will do for you 5, 10, 15 years down the line. But for us, we only have the last few years as reference. So it's hard. It's a little bit harder for us to envision that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I can definitely see that for sure. Yeah, because you just don't have the experience, right? It's like when I worked at Rogers, my dad worked in commercial real estate for 30 plus years, Cushman Wakefield. And I remember when I was working at Rogers, I'd see these sales cycles on deals that would take, a couple months. And then when you're starting out, you're trying something, and my dad would be like, dude, just relax, chill out. And the deals will come and you'll start closing because, for the first 6 months, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, you have to build your funnel and then you start building up your prospects. And then, you need a certain amount of leads to trickle down to a certain amount of meetings to a certain, different for you because you're more listings. But for us, it was, leads to meetings to signatures. And it significantly gets smaller, the funnel, as you go farther down, right? So I think that's hugely important is the, building that experience and you get to learn from one of the greatest, right? He's your dad. And that's what I'm enjoying about working with my dad now is, I've only ever really seen him as dad before. And, he'd talk to me about some of the stuff that was going on, but I didn't really fully understand it because A, I hadn't gone to business school, and B, I didn't really care. Whereas now, as an adult, I'm trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can from him while I still have him, right? Because he's, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But he's got, he's 67, right? He's 67.
Oh, he's just a young guy.
Battling cancer, so he's not...
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, no, he's in remission right now, but I mean, there's always a chance that it could come back. So I think that put in perspective for me, I need to absorb as much and spend as much time with my dad, A, because he's my dad and I love him, but also because he's this wealth of knowledge that, I see what he's doing with me now, and I hope to be able to have that relationship with my son one day where I'm, or daughter, whatever. Whichever one. I just want to make sure that I'm able to do that for them, which brings me to my next point, which how important is legacy when you're building, a family name in real estate?
I think it's important. I do think it's important. It's hard to pinpoint Why? Other than it just really resonates with consumers to know that this is a family business, that I learned from an expert who's my dad sitting right beside him. I think that just resonates, and people feel that I've gained more expertise because of it. And it's so the legacy, John, is just in the expertise and in your ability to provide really good service. And it's nothing more, nothing less than that. It's not about how many homes you've sold. It's not about how much money you have. It's not about taking what he's done and making it bigger. It's just about, keeping a consistent level of character that they did. And that's all it's about. That's all it's about.
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what does it mean to you, John, to build a business that it seems like reflects not only both your family values, but also your business values? It seems like they really align.
Yeah. That is, it's just important to us. It's maybe not important to everyone, but it's important to us. I want to be proud of all of the work that we do, and regardless of who on our team takes the lead with a particular client, it's my name is being stamped on that transaction, and I want to be proud of that. And the first and foremost to everything with us is client service. We don't really, the focus on commission comes after everything else. And so we lead off with customer service and providing really good customer service and being able to stamp our name on that transaction. And that's what's most important really to us, and I think that over the years, leading by example with that is what then feeds down to Marnie, Danielle, and now Billy.
And we've prided ourselves, before real estate, before anything, we've prided ourselves on being a caring family that supports the community around them. And that, we're a house where, if you're a neighborhood kid and you miss the bus, you can knock on our door and get a drive to school. That's happened many times over the years.
Week.
So in terms of having synergy between family values and business values, it was, I think, easy for them to transition their character into their line of work, because in real estate, like you've mentioned, it's the biggest assets that people are purchasing. It's whether it's your biggest asset or not, it's most likely your most important asset.
Yeah.
And that same level of care is that they provide to their community and their personal lives is really important in their line of work. And so, and I know every line of work requires good customer service. It requires, people acting in good faith. But I just think with the importance of your matrimonial home, it's that much more imperative.
The interesting thing about real estate is, and you don't really understand it until you're in it, is that we get behind closed doors of a lot of situations. It's, the buying of a house can be really, euphoric, fun time. But at the same time, there's a lot of everyone needs somewhere to live. And if you're going through a divorce, if you've had a death in the family, if you're being transferred from a place you really like to another city, maybe you've lost your job. There's a lot of really challenging situations that trigger a real estate transaction.
Yeah.
And we get behind closed doors sitting with people at their kitchen tables, and they open up to us. And so there has to be that level of trust and comfort to know that, first of all, everything we're discussing right now is strictly confidential. But then also that there's some empathy for their situation.
Yeah.
And I think, as a family, people kind of take a look at us sometimes and see that, I'm pretty proud of our family, and that is reflective in our work and our customer service too.
Yeah.
And if you're a transactional person, when you get into the situation where you're behind those closed doors, that will be exposed very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It's really important in those moments that you you find the most empathy you can, and you try to be the best possible person that you can. So yeah, in behind closed doors, that's when your caring side really needs to come out. And that's where I think we've had an advantage, because honestly, that's how we are in our everyday lives.
And, when clients choose you, whether they're in a good situation, a bad situation, they're excited about selling their home, or they're doing it out of necessity, what do you hope they remember most about their experience?
Well, that they received absolute great service and trusted advice and guidance, and that we took, regardless of why you're making a transition, it could be for a very positive thing. You might be getting married and now moving into a nice home that you're about to, be in for 20 years and build a family on, or, maybe a not so positive situation, but just that the person received guidance and compassion and really great service, and that we were available for them when they needed us.
Like, we want them to remember that they were entrenched in a stressful situation, and because they brought John Donovan Properties into their lives, that situation became a lot less stressful. That's what we want people to think.
That's a good way to put it.
I had a really stressful situation. I leaned on John Donovan Properties to make it less stressful, and they absolutely did.
That's awesome.
Or they can remember us for funny YouTube videos.
Or
TikTok videos, Not that we're doing any of those.
And what has the journey taught you about each other outside of real estate by working together?
Well, I think from my perspective, watching Billy go through this, like I mentioned earlier, just meeting you and Conrad and reconnecting with Michael Coots and the work that you guys are doing, that's been really a lot of fun for me to observe, and just observing how smart you guys all are.
I wouldn't go that far. For me personally, Coots and Billy, you guys, not me.
No, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm thoroughly enjoying watching Billy develop his career and his business, and I'm happy to be part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've learned that their capacity for handling stress is a lot larger than I ever realized, because I as a kid, I didn't understand how stressful this actually was.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the business, and it's like, wow, like, you guys have been able to keep your cool for all these years. And so that's what I've learned.
Should have yelled at me more as a kid.
I want to go back in time and put me in timeout or whatever. So, but yeah, that's what I've learned about them, is they have a tremendous capacity for handling stress, way more than I've realized.
And, dealing with all these situations, you're watching your son grow, you're learning what your parents had to do and deal with as they were raising you. What do you think, looking back, is one proud moment you've had watching each other grow in this business?
A proud moment.
Well, for me, it was watching you do your first deal.
Yeah.
Where you wrote your first offer, you sent it to me for review, and I think I made a small edit and sent it back to you, and then you called me up to say that it was accepted.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
That was a pretty special moment. Absolutely. That was a very special moment. I think it's hard to kind of pinpoint, because their business has seemed so consistent for many, many years, from long before I even joined. But I remember, you starting and, driving a Dodge Caravan, having, like oversized suits and a big suitcase, and bringing me along for showing, sitting in the back of my car and stuff like that, to, eventually within a few years, he, became this well-renowned agent, that was, an award winner, that was highly regarded by his peers. And I think, like, because I was young enough, like I was old enough when he started to really observe what it was like for him to start, and then witnessing him gain success and how well regarded he was by his community was something I noticed at a really early age. And I was always took a lot of pride in that, you know, I was, you know, that those were my parents and they were so well regarded. And I think that that's when talking about legacy, it's, you know, coming into the business, that's something that's been at the forefront of my mind is, you know, maintaining that level of character and maintaining that, maintaining that reputation that they have as being good people.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but has working together strengthened your relationship, do you think?
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I think we kind of view each other in a different light. You know, we are really forced to see each other as just as adults rather than just being like, you know, father son or mother son. Me looking at them on this big pedestal, like, you know, they're like, you know, they can do no wrong, or, you know, they'll never get rattled by a situation or anything. And, you know, in turn, them seeing me as a kid, as, you know, somebody who requires a lot of support. And I think now that we're business partners, we are kind of forced to look at each other on this even playing field of just being two adults. And do you have anything?
No, you're completely dead on. You see each other in from different angles, and I'm quite proud of our little family business there, and
As you should be.
Yeah, and bringing Billy on board is just taking that to the next level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love hearing that. What advice would you give to other families looking to get into business together, maybe?
So a family business can be fantastic. It really can be. It adds another layer to, if you have a good solid family foundation to begin with, adding business to it can just take that to a whole other level.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as advice goes, it's the same advice you give anybody going into business with someone else, and is just to be respectful of each other, to support each other, to take care of your own responsibilities. You know, sometimes with family dynamics, they maybe take the other person for granted. You know, because they're your kid or they're your wife or you know, your brother or sister. So you have to leave that stuff behind, and you really have to have a strong relationship there. But as far as advice goes, my only advice is if it's the right person, if it's the right fit, then just go for it 100%. You know, Billy's with us not because he's our son. He's with us because he's the best fit. The door was opened for him because he's our son, but he's earned everything that he's achieved so far. And that's not because he's our son. It's because of all the hard work he's done. And so being a family, being our kid, that just opened the door for him, but he had to earn every bit of it. And real estate can be very unforgiving, and it's you know, so you know, don't hire a family member because they're a family member. Open the door for them because they're a family member, but they have to earn the right to be there. And I love working with family. I highly recommend it.
Like, I think advice I'd give is that, you know, I think a lot of people say that, you know, to not make your career who you are. But I think that's even tougher in a family business, to not let the family business define who you are as a person. And even though it's a family business, there still has to be that work-life balance. There still has to be that separation. And it's, you know, when talking, you know, you talk about legacy, like a family business, for the person inheriting the family business or taking it over, it can be a lot of pressure to maintain that legacy and to not let those people down. But if you don't define who you are by the family business, you're not really worried about that. You're just working it just like any other job that you would work. And that's how you have to view it. You know, you can't because it's a family business, it shouldn't add pressure onto anybody. And it shouldn't define who you are as a person, just like you wouldn't let a regular 9-to-5 corporate job define who you are. You know, but I think it's a lot easier to see that in that environment than it is in a family business.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really good point. I didn't even think of it from that perspective. Yeah. Awesome. I got one more question for you, and I think we'll end it after this one. But what's one thing that you admire about each other that you maybe don't say enough?
Ooh.
That's so, yeah, we're getting deep.
I'll let you go first. I want to think about that one.
Yeah. That I don't say, that I admire about him that I don't say enough, is just his, you know, actually it's probably just how bold he is. Like, he's willing to go up on stage every Friday and perform songs that he's written, that he's learned himself. Like, we'll go to these shows and I'm just like, how is he doing that? Like, I would never do that in a million years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, and that's not the only thing. Like, you know, he's really bold to, you know, go out of his way to experience life. And that's really inspiring. And I think that's really translated into the business world as well, and how he's able to serve his clients and to run his own business.
Well, I would say into you as well, because at OBC events, when we're doing our fireside chats with whoever our guest speakers are, like, you're just a natural up there. So I think you got to give yourself a little bit more credit, because you do go up on stage, maybe just not, you know, in the same light that your dad does, because he's playing music as a rock star.
Yeah.
And then, but no, I definitely think that trait's translated over to you for sure.
But like, my brother is the same way. Like, he's a stand-up comedian, and I mean, we just went to one of his shows on Saturday night, and you know, it's unbelievable how comfortable he is up there, how good he is up there, how he just walks up there and he owns the stage. And my dad's the same way. And I think that, like, I've maybe inherited those traits, but I think I'm able to bring it out of me because I'm able to witness these people around me that are just bold and will just go and do it. And, you know, and I think that my dad has always been like that. And I think my brother and I have kind of inherited those traits, you know, nature versus nurture. Like, I think it's a little bit of nature, but it's also nurture by witnessing them do it.
1,000%.
You know, so.
Yeah. And as far as Billy goes, you know, I'm just tremendously proud of him and proud of all the work that he's done and the connections that he's made, and you know, being able to watch him and Bella start their lives together, and I'm tremendously proud. Happy to work with them. I love coming to work with Billy every day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to end it there, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Really appreciate it. It was great hearing the stories, and I can honestly see how proud you are of him, and I can also see how proud you are to be his son. So that was awesome. That was really awesome.
Did we pass the audition?
Yes. Awesome.
Well, thanks for having us. I really appreciate it. You guys do great work here. Of
course.
You know, we shot a video here one day, and I was so impressed with it. And when Billy mentioned doing this, I'm like, absolutely, let's do it.
Amazing. We'll definitely have to have you guys back on for sure. Maybe in a couple months we'll get maybe we'll do like a update on, you know, kind of what the market's looking like or something. But
absolutely.
Happy to
where
help
can
anytime.
our listeners find you on socials, website?
So you can find us at our website at www.johndonovanproperties.com. But you know, you can look us up on Instagram, John Donovan Properties. You know, my personal Instagram is Billy Donovan _27. You know, yours is DONOVJO. If you find our John Donovan Properties page,
Google our name.
it will be easily, we're easily accessible online.
Yeah.
And if you ever have any real estate questions, you can always reach out to us. We're always available.
Or catch them at an OBC event.
Or catch me at an OBC event. Yes.
You guys have some coming up.
We've got some good ones coming up on April 23rd. Really great night at the National Art Gallery.
Yeah,
and then
that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then May 4th, a great fundraising event for Christie Lake kids at Sophia Vintage Motor Cafe. We'll have a silent auction going, you know, Caroline in the Capitol, and Adrian Viano will be there to you know, to speak to the crowd and, like, you know, to act as almost like a panel. And just, great instance to see some beautiful cars and drink some coffee.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John.